All right, boys and girls, so what you're going to do is you're going to dip your brush in the water. And I'm going to suggest that you blend all the yellow areas first so that you make sure that you have the purest yellow. And so whatever yellow you have, blend in all your yellows. And if you ever heard of paint by number, you're going to paint by color. And what you notice is I only dip the brush in once. And I'm using my hand that I'm not painting with to hold the paper still. And I'm blending with the most minimal amount of water all the yellows. And you may notice here, I barely need to get any water on the brush, barely. It just needs to be a little bit wet. And you only need to wet your brush again when it's not, when the watercolor pencil is not blending. Make sure that you use your hand that you're not painting with to rotate your painting around so that you get to the areas more easily. And I only dipped the brush in once to the water, and look at how far it's going. You really want as little water as possible. I'm holding the brush like a pencil, and I'm only using a finger to hold the paper still. And look at how bright the colors are really coming to life here. I'm just going to dip it one more time, and that should be almost enough to finish up all the yellow areas. And you can see I'm blending it in the direction of the line still. If you wind up going outside the line, like I just did, we can always fix it when it dries with a Sharpie and just make the line thicker. And that won't even see any kind of like a mistake if you think you have a mistake. But what you notice is if there's any white spots that you have, they get totally blended into a solid color. So the first rule is use the tip of the brush, hold it like a pencil. It's starting to get a little too dry here, so I'm going to dip in the water one more time. And you want to blend in the direction of the line. Use as little water as possible and just the tip of the brush. Rotate around so you get the hard to reach areas. And do all the yellow areas first. We just want to preserve the integrity of the color. If you use too much water, it might blend outside the Sharpie. Now, because the Sharpie is not an oil pastel, I'll just get this back in the middle. Look at how the yellow is popping. And just like a marker or paint, these colors really are super saturated and really come to life. So now, basically, no matter what color you did for your word, I'm just going to brush this off, rinse this off really well. And I'm just going to use this paper towel here to dry it off. Or if we have scrap paper behind you, you can always dry it off that way. What I'm going to suggest next is, wet your brush. And the next step is to blend the inside word. Look at this cherry red coming through. Oh, so good. And I'm leaning my kind of pinky on the page that I'm painting. I'm not in midair here. I'm holding the brush, again, like a pencil, but I'm leaning my hand, only like my pinky really. You want to lean as little bit as possible on the page so that you don't accidentally smudge maybe the wet area on the yellow that you just blended. So even if your word on the inside is blue, you should do that first because you want to blend from the inside out now. This way it's a little bit easier. Look at that little drop of water went such a long way. Look at the difference of the P with the rest of the letters is this beautiful cherry red. And again, use your left hand that you're not, always in art, you always need both hands. The hand that you're not painting with is always going to be used to hold the paper still. And again, I'm painting in the direction of the line and barely need any water. If you wind up getting too much water on your letter, you can take a paper towel and just quickly blot it, and it'll lift it up, and then you can just use the extra watercolor pencil that's around it to kind of blend it in. If you colored in your drawing too light, when this dries, another fun thing about watercolor pencils is that when it dries, say next week, when you're working on it, you can always recolor it again to make the color more saturated, to make it more bright, to make it brighter. Okay, so now that let me shift the lighting a little bit. So now that we're done with the pop and we did red, I'm going to do all the reds since my brush is already has the red. So basically the trick is do all of your yellows first, no matter where they are. Then go to the word that's in the middle of the page. And if it's red, then you're going to do all the reds. If you do the blue, if your word was blue, then you're going to do all of the blues. So like this red here, maybe I'm going to want to go back and fix that up later next week. You see what happens if you color it too light, then the color is not as bright. And with this project, we want them the brightest color possible. We want all the colors to pop, just like your word design, just like your line design. And again, I'm rotating the painting so that I can easily access the color that I need to get to. And you just want to be very careful that you don't lean on the painting. And again, I'm using the hand that I'm not painting with to hold it still. But also, it might be hard for you to tell in the video, but I'm actually leaning my hand on the table while I'm painting. Just my pinky. But it gives you stability. If you hold your hand in midair, it's very hard to control the brush. Again, so little water. I'm almost done. Just have to do the blue. So just make sure when you get to the next color that you rinse really well so that you don't get, if you put red with blue, it'll be a purple. Then you could blot, just make sure there's no color there, and the water should be fine. So I'm going to go and do all my blues now.